All right, strap yourselves in for today's Buzz Breakdown because we are going deep on a topic I can tell you guys are super hyped about.
Yeah,
A world of Henry Cavill.
definitely lots of buzz around this one.
His love for all things fantasy and all those recent shakeups in his career.
Yeah, and I think what's so interesting about all this is that it's not just another story about some actor looking for his next big paycheck.
Right.
Cavill's a self-proclaimed super fan of this stuff.
Yeah.
Like The Witcher and Warhammer 40K. I mean, he's deeply invested in these worlds.
Yeah, no, he's not afraid to geek out
Totally
about all the
motive.
characters and the lore and all that.
Big time.
It really seems like he's going after these passion projects
Yeah,
and trying to take control creatively whenever he can.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Which brings us to our first stop on this deep dive, The Witcher.
Yeah, so what do all these articles and videos tell us about his exit?
Well, you can't talk about The Witcher without talking about Superman.
True.
Remember all that hype with The Rock and Black Adam?
Oh, yeah.
He was really pushing for that Black Adam versus Superman movie.
Uh-huh.
And he even got Cavill back for that post-credit scene.
Oh, the internet went crazy for that.
It was huge.
Everyone was so excited to see him back.
Yeah, and then right after that, Cavill announces his return as Superman.
Yeah.
And then just like a week later, he steps away from The Witcher. It really seemed like he was clearing the way for a major Superman comeback.
But then James Gunn and Peter Safran take over DC.
Right, and suddenly everything changes.
A whole new direction.
Superman reboot, younger actor, the whole deal.
It's like Cavill got caught in the middle of all of that.
That's one theory.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought he'd be juggling both Witcher and Superman.
Makes sense.
But once the DC plan shifted, maybe he decided it was time to move on from Geralt, too.
Yeah, I could see that.
But then there were also all those reports about creative differences on the set of The Witcher.
Right.
Apparently, Cavill's really serious about staying true to the books.
He's a big fan of the books.
Huge fan, yeah. Which might have caused some friction with the writers.
Yeah, it sounds like he's the type to walk away if things aren't going the way he believes they should.
Yeah, and there've been hints from some producers about behind-the-scenes tension.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like about how closely they should be adapting the books.
Interesting.
It makes you think about that balance,
Yeah.
between staying true to the source material
Right.
and creating something new for the screen.
Definitely a tough balance to strike.
Especially with something like The Witcher.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a huge franchise.
Huge.
You've got to keep the hardcore fans happy,
Uh-huh.
but you also want to bring in a wider audience.
Okay, but before we get too far into this,
Yeah.
we have to address the big rumor.
Oh, yeah, that leaked podcast script.
The thing was everywhere,
It was
claiming Cavill was difficult to work with,
pretty juicy stuff.
but totally unconfirmed, right?
Exactly. Anonymous sources.
Yeah.
You can't just take that at face value. And no one involved has actually confirmed it publicly.
So it's really all just speculation at this point.
Right. Gossip's cheap,
That's true.
but reputations matter.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us to Liam Hemsworth.
Oh, yeah. Taking over the role of Geralt.
Talk about pressure.
Stepping into some pretty big boots
It's
there.
huge boots to fill, especially since Cavill was so popular.
I mean, a lot of fans really felt like he embodied Geralt perfectly.
He did.
So how do you even begin to replace that?
Right, and the producers have mentioned this meta-narrative approach to
Uh-huh.
explain the change.
Yeah.
They mentioned the Lady of the Lake as inspiration.
Yeah, with Ciri looking different to different people.
Exactly.
Do you think that could work?
It's interesting, for sure.
Yeah.
It could be a clever way to acknowledge the recasting
Uh.
while still, staying true to the books.
Right.
But ultimately, it all comes down to Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Can he win over the audience?
He's got a lot to prove.
He does.
But let's not forget, Cavill's got plenty to keep him busy.
Well, yeah.
He's super passionate about this Warhammer 40K thing.
This is not just another job for him.
No.
He's all in on this one.
It seems like it.
Warhammer 40K is massive.
Yeah.
Huge, dedicated fan base.
Massive.
I mean, if they get this adaptation right,
Yeah.
it could be the next Game of Thrones.
That's a high bar.
It is, but the potential's there.
So we've got Warhammer.
Plus, he's got the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare
Right.
and Highlander coming up.
And Highlander. Yeah, he seems to be keeping busy.
It's pretty remarkable to see how his career's evolving.
Yeah.
He's using his star power
Mm-hmm.
to really champion these projects he believes in.
I think that's pretty admirable.
I do too.
Okay, we can't talk about Cavill without mentioning that little Marvel detour he took,
Oh, yeah.
even if it was just a quick cameo.
It was brief, But it was glorious.
He actually got to play Wolverine.
As a variant in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Even as a variant, that was a dream come true for a lot of fans.
Absolutely. And he killed it.
He did. He totally nailed it.
He's got that intensity and the physicality.
Yeah, he brought it.
It's just a shame it was so short.
It really makes you want more.
It does.
Maybe to lead to something bigger down the line.
Fingers crossed,
Right.
because he definitely proved he can handle these iconic comic book roles.
Totally.
He's got the range.
He does.
Superman, Geralt, Wolverine, he can do it all.
Speaking of Warhammer, though, there seems to be a bit of a cloud hanging over that project right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, there have been some rumblings, some reports from Games Workshop,
Oh, okay.
the company behind Warhammer, suggesting that Cavill's adaptation might be hitting some snags,
Oh, but
potentially even being put on hold.
no, that's a bummer.
It is. Especially after all the passion he's shown.
Yeah, what could be causing these issues?
It's still unclear. There are whispers about creative differences
Oh, those again.
and budget concerns.
Right. I mean, adapting Warhammer 40K is huge.
It's massive.
It's a sprawling universe.
Rich lore, complex characters.
It's going to take serious resources to do it justice.
No doubt about it.
Well, hopefully they can sort it all out.
I hope so.
Warhammer deserves a great adaptation.
It does.
And Cavill seems like the perfect guy to lead the charge.
Couldn't agree more.
But even if Warhammer doesn't happen,
Right.
he's still got a full slate of projects
He does.
to keep us entertained.
And himself busy.
Exactly.
It's really fascinating to see how this whole situation is playing out.
It is.
Even with A-list stars and big-budget movies,
Yeah.
things don't always go as planned.
It's tough business.
It is.
But Cavill's journey,
Yeah.
with both Superman and The Witcher,
It's a real case study
is.
in those challenges.
So if we had to sum up what we've learned from all of this,
Yeah.
what would you say are the key takeaways?
Well, first off, never underestimate the power of fans,
Oh, yeah.
especially passionate fans.
Especially passionate fans.
They can make or break a franchise. Their
Mm,
voices matter.
they do.
And second, Hollywood is unpredictable.
Yeah.
Even with the biggest stars and the biggest budgets,
Well,
there's
yeah.
no guarantee of success.
That's true.
And lastly, stay true to yourself. Whether you're an actor or a writer,
Yeah.
a director, whatever,
Yeah.
champion the projects you believe in, even when things get tough.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's that passion and that vision.
That's what makes storytelling special
That's what connects with audiences.
and leaves a lasting impact.
Well said.
Speaking of exciting projects, let's shift gears
Okay.
and talk about this Highlander reboot.
Oh, yeah.
Cavill's starring in this reimagining of the classic 80s film.
It's perfect for him.
I know, right?
I can already picture him.
With that katana, he's
Yeah.
got that brooding intensity down pat.
Mm-hmm.
And the role itself is perfect.
Yeah.
Action, fantasy, a bit of historical drama.
It really shows off his range.
And it's not just a straight remake.
Oh,
It's a reimagining.
okay.
So they're going to take some creative liberties with the story.
Which could be a good thing. I
Definitely.
mean, the original Highlander was great, but those sequels,
Yeah, not so much.
but with a fresh perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and Cavill in the lead role,
This new Highlander could be something special.
especially with Chad Stahelski directing,
Oh, yeah, the John Wick guy.
that name gets action fans excited.
He's known for incredible fight choreography.
Yeah, and visually stunning action sequences.
He's a master of world building, too.
So imagine combining Stahelski's action
With Cavill's presence.
and the epic scope of Highlander.
It could be amazing.
It could be unforgettable.
Now, hold on.
Right.
Let's not get too carried away.
True, true.
It's still early,
Yeah,
but the potential is definitely there.
the potential is definitely there.
We'll keep you updated as things develop.
Definitely.
But for now, let's take a quick break. And then we'll dive into some listener questions
That's good to me.
about all things Henry Cavill.
I always love hearing what our Buzz Breakdown community has to say.
Me too. They always have such great questions and comments.
Okay, so let's take a step back for a second
All right.
and look at the bigger picture here.
Right.
What does this whole Henry Cavill thing tell us about, like, fantasy adaptations in general right now?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, it feels like we're in this golden age of fantasy on screen.
We've got The Witcher, House of the Dragon.
Rings of Power.
Yeah, all these huge productions,
Big budgets.
massive audiences.
And they're pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah, fantasy's not this niche genre anymore.
No,
It's totally mainstream.
it is.
But at the same time, there's this tension, right?
Definitely.
between staying true to the original books and stuff
Right.
and trying to appeal to this wider audience.
It's a delicate balance.
It's-
You want to make the diehard fans happy.
Yeah.
But you also want to bring in new people.
Yeah.
And sometimes those two things clash.
Right.
And I think Cavill's situation really highlights that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the challenges for both the actors and the creators.
Yeah, when you're dealing with these huge franchises.
Like The Witcher?
Superman.
Yeah. Everybody has an opinion
Everyone's got strong opinions.
about how these characters should be portrayed.
Uh-huh. And social media just amplifies all of that.
Oh, yeah. It adds this whole other layer of complexity.
It's like a constant feedback loop.
Right.
And you want to be open to feedback, of course.
Of course.
But you also have to trust your own instincts.
And your vision.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you can't please everyone.
You really can.
But it is interesting to see how Cavill's choices
Yeah.
kind of reflect this bigger shift
Mm-hmm.
that's happening in Hollywood.
You know, more and more actors
Yeah.
wanting to be more involved creatively,
Right.
not just showing up and saying their lines.
You want to say in the story.
Exactly. They want to shape the projects they're a part of.
Yeah. It's like they're saying, hey, I'm not just a pretty face.
Right. I have ideas.
I care about this.
Exactly. And it can lead to some really cool collaborations.
Yeah, when everyone's on the same page,
Passionate about the project.
like Cavill and Warhammer 40K,
I mean, that's a dream project for him.
Yeah.
He's been talking about it for years.
and you can feel that passion
Oh, yeah.
in his interviews.
It's infectious.
It makes you excited as a viewer.
It does.
But it also reminds you that things don't always go to plan.
Oh, absolutely.
Even with big stars, big budgets,
Yeah.
there are always challenges.
Budget constraints, studio interference.
Creative differences.
It's a minefield out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And Cavill's experiences with both Superman and The Witcher,
Mm-hmm.
they really illustrate that.
Okay, so if we had to, distill this down, what are the key takeaways here?
What can we learn from Henry Cavill's journey?
That's a good question.
Well, I think the biggest thing is to never underestimate passionate fans.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They're the lifeblood of these franchises.
They keep these worlds alive
Exactly.
long after the movie's over.
Right. And second,
Yeah,
Hollywood is a risky business.
it is.
No matter who you are,
Yeah,
no matter how much money you have.
no guarantees.
Well,
And finally,
yeah,
stay true to yourself.
that's so important.
Whether you're an
And
actor,
director.
director,
What?
find the projects you believe in.
And fight for them.
Yeah, because ultimately,
It's that passion
that vision,
that makes storytelling truly special.
well said.
Okay, speaking of exciting projects.
Let's talk about Highlander.
Oh, yeah, this reboot.
Cavill's going to be wielding that katana.
It's such a perfect fit.
It is. He's got that brooding intensity,
Mm-hmm.
that perfect blend of action and fantasy, and a little bit of historical drama.
It's a great showcase for his range.
And it's not just a remake, right?
No, they're calling it a reimagining,
So they're taking some liberties with the story.
which could be a good thing.
Right. Because the original Highlander,
Was awesome.
but the sequels,
Not so much.
yeah, but with a fresh take,
Mm-hmm.
and Cavill leading the charge.
Plus, Chaz Stahelski directing.
Oh, yeah, the John Wick guy.
This new Highlander has serious potential.
This could be epic.
Stahelski's known for those incredible fight scenes.
Yeah, those visually stunning action sequences.
And he's a master at creating immersive worlds,
So imagine his action expertise
combined with Cavill's presence.
and the epic scope of the Highlander mythology.
Oh,
It could be incredible.
mind-blowing.
Heart-pounding action.
Mythical intrigue.
Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Right, it's still early.
We'll keep you updated as things develop.
Definitely.
But for now, let's shift gears and dive into some of those listener questions.
Okay, sounds good.
We've got a lot of great ones about Henry Cavill.
I'm excited to hear what our Buzz Breakdown community has to say.
Okay, we're back, and you guys had some awesome questions, so let's get right to it.
Yeah, always love hearing from our Buzz Breakdown listeners.
So first up, a lot of people are wondering about Cavill's Witcher exit,
Yeah,
especially now that the Superman thing didn't pan out.
right. Do you think he has any regrets?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
I mean, we can't know for sure.
Of course.
But from what he said publicly,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like his decision was more about those creative differences.
Right, more than just scheduling issues.
Yeah, he's always been so passionate about the books
Huge fan.
and committed to projects that align with his vision.
Absolutely.
So if he felt like the show was going in a direction he didn't agree with,
Yeah.
it makes sense that he would walk away.
It does.
Plus, even without The Witcher and Superman,
Right.
he's still got a ton of projects lined up.
He does.
Warhammer, Highlander, the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yeah, he's not exactly hurting for work.
Okay, next question. What are the chances we'll ever see Cavill back as Superman?
Oh, man. Everyone wants to know that.
Is there any hope?
I mean, never say never in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
But realistically,
Yeah.
it's probably not going to happen.
James Gunn seems pretty set on this new direction.
Yeah, younger Superman, fresh start.
And from a storytelling perspective,
Yeah,
I get it.
it's a reboot.
Gives them more freedom.
To explore new storylines.
All right. And even though it's sad to see Cavill's Superman end,
It is.
he definitely made an impact.
Oh, absolutely.
He brought a real intensity to the role.
A certain gravitas.
Yeah. A lot of fans loved his portrayal.
Okay, let's talk about Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, we got a ton of questions about that.
I know everyone's worried about those rumors.
People are concerned the project might be in trouble.
Yeah, what's the latest on that?
Well, there hasn't been much official news.
Which is never a good sign.
But Amazon's a huge company.
Massive.
Tons of resources.
They've shown they're willing to spend money on these fantasy adaptations.
Rings of Power is a perfect example.
Exactly.
So while the silence is a little unnerving,
Sure.
it's not necessarily a death knell.
Right. Fingers crossed they can work everything out.
I'm sure Cavill and Amazon will figure it out.
Hopefully.
Warhammer deserves an epic adaptation.
It does, and Cavill's the guy to do it.
Okay, last question, and this one's fun.
Let's hear it.
If Cavill could play any character from any fantasy or sci-fi franchise,
Heck.
who would you pick?
Oh, man, that's tough.
He's already played some iconic roles.
He has.
But you know what? I think he'd make a fantastic Captain Mal Reynolds.
From Firefly.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like it.
He's got that roguish
With
charm
leadership quality.
and that underlying toughness.
Perfect for Mal.
Okay, my pick is a little more out there.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
Cavill as Kavoth.
From the King Killer Chronicle.
Yes.
That's a good one.
He's got the looks, the intensity.
Really charisma.
He could totally capture Kavoth's complex personality.
Yeah, that arrogance, that vulnerability.
And all those hidden depths.
I can totally see it.
He'd be amazing.
Okay, that's all the time we have for today.
But wow, we covered a lot.
We did.
Superman, The Witcher, Warhammer, Highlander.
Henry Cavill's career is a wild ride.
It is, and it seems like he's just getting started.
He's a great example of how passion and hard work,
Can really pay off.
even in an industry as unpredictable as Hollywood.
Absolutely. But now we want to hear from you guys.
What are your thoughts on Henry Cavill?
Drop us a comment and tell us what you thought of this deep dive.
And while you're at it,
Make sure to like, subscribe,
and hit that notification bell.
so you don't miss out on any of our future deep dives.
Into the world of entertainment. Thanks for listening to Buzz Breakdown.